No clowning around. This clown could be the new Marlboro Man. Hi, everyone. Happy to have you. I'm Neil Cavuto. And the food police are launching a supersized Big Mac attack. Lawyers now trying to make big food into the new big tobacco. Their pitch to several state AGs: go after big food because it's making people fat. And go after some fat green to pay for obesity-related healthcare costs. We're talking potentially hundreds of billions served, not fries, dollars. Charles Payne saying that this is a little bit too much to stomach. We're joined, glad to have this fellow back, Ben Stein, Dagan McDowell, Adam Lashinsky, Charlie Gasparino. So Charles Payne, what do you make of this?
So many. What I make of it, you have so many things at work here. The main thing I make of it is what's been pretty clear over the last 5 years: redistribution of accountability. Nothing is your fault. Nothing is the person's fault in the mirror. You know what? You lost your job through no fault of your own. You don't have a job through no fault of your own. Everything is no fault of your own, including eating yourself into a diabetic coma. That's what I make of it. Redistribution of accountability, which sets up redistribution of wealth, because the bottom line is, if we're going to have a welfare country, a welfare nation, you've got to fund it. And this particular government's running out of money, so they're digging deep into the pockets of corporate America.
You seem upset.
I am upset. This is ridiculous.
Dagan.
This is nothing but a money grab. It's not going to keep people in the future from eating in these restaurants, getting fat, and incurring higher related health care costs. And how do you even differentiate between the companies? You're going to go after McDonald's. Okay, go after Buffalo Wild Wings. You're going to have to go after Cold Stone Creamery, PepsiCo, because they own Frito-Lay. You're literally going to have to go after almost every company that manufactures food or serves food in this nation. I mean, where do we draw the line? And it won't help, because people are just going to find something to eat. I mean, they're going to get fat on Triscuits. I mean, shoot, I could do that if I eat enough boxes of them.
It's really hard to get fat on Triscuits, but I do see your point.
And I don't think Dagan could do it, actually.
No. Yes, Brina.
I had a protein shake with fruit for breakfast today. Just want you to know as I comment on this. You know, here's the thing.
Sounds absolutely horrible.
It was great. I put some kale in it. I feel good, feel energized.
People but if you had a kale, you might as well just go for the...
People should eat like that, but here's the bottom line.
I'm really happy I'm sitting next to you, knowing you ate that for breakfast.
No, but listen,
well, you might have to leave in the third segment here.
It's called kale.
Smoke. Anyway, who doesn't know, before the tobacco settlement, who didn't know that cigarettes were bad for them? I mean, there is a degree of this that is so absurd. I wasn't in favor of them hitting the tobacco companies up. I knew when I was a kid back in the 1970s that cigarettes were bad for you. I knew that. So anybody that smoked, my belief, anybody that smoked a cigarette after 1960 knew it was bad for you. That settlement was wrong. This settlement is even more insane.
All right. Well, Ben Stein, we know one difference right now with the tobacco industry and going into the fast food industry is that the tobacco industry did knowingly lie about the addictive effect they did put into its cigarettes. The jury's still out as to whether fast food has done the same. So unless Ronald has been filling his fries with Freon, I mean, this case goes nowhere, right? Or does it?
Well, first of all, back up. I don't think the tobacco companies have been lying about food, about tobacco being addictive for a very, very long time.
No, we're talking about at the time of the settlement. I mean, what got them to the proof?
Well, that was a long time before the settlement.
Right.
But nobody makes a person eat a Big Mac. Nobody makes a person eat a Whopper. This is just an attack on freedom. This has very, very little to do with any kind of health issue. It's a way, one, for the lawyers to make money. It's a pure money-grabbing play for the lawyers, and why not? That's what people do in America. That's what people do everywhere. But it also takes away from our freedom. And by the way, why stop with food? Why not say, well, big cars are very dangerous?
Cell phones.
Why not say that cell phones are they give you brain cancer, supposedly? I mean, there's no end. Once you start down this road, there's government control of everything. And that is the real goal. For the trial lawyers, money. For the government, control.
Adam?
I think this whole freedom conversation that you all are having is a dangerous one. Charlie, the reason you knew smoking was dangerous was because the Surgeon General told you so.
Right. What year was that?
I'm not finished, Charlie.
What year was
Charles,
that? Well, you brought
this
it up.
is not something. I'm going to talk about some history. This is not something that's been. It was before you were a child, correct?
Of course. Of course.
So that's my point.
And nobody knew smoking was bad for them?
My other point is, Neil, My other point, Neil, is that Charles wants to, he said, you know, this has been going on for the last 5 years. He wants to equate that with the Obama administration. I get that. But these sorts of things have been going on, number one, since long before the Obama administration. Number two, this is a bunch of lawyers. I mean, I think it's a bad idea.
The huge supporters of the president.
Obama doing it.
Well, you know, Ben Stein is a lawyer, and he's not such a duplicitous worm. So you're lumping all lawyers.
By the way, the trial bar,
I
haven't practiced for a very long time.
Yeah,
and the trial bar is not everybody's
But I think
lawyer.
Charles Payne hit on the very big picture issue going on here. Personal responsibility, that's out the window. That's not a political statement. That's not an anti-Obama statement, just as it wouldn't be an anti-Bush statement. It's just that now if you have a problem, it's not your fault.
We do keep hearing more and more. Almost every week, whatever we hear or we're talking about that's in the news, the common thread is that somehow a person is a victim.
Right.
And you know, so even with the minimum wage debate, what we don't talk about is how does someone get into a position to be an adult and only have skills to work minimum wage? What did they do to hurt themselves, to harm themselves? But they're always the victim. Everyone's always the victim.
But this is a political. Now wait a second, Adam. This is.
But I worry about Charles Payne, who, when he continues to say stuff like that, he proves he could be.
But this is a political story.
You could just kind of quiet down. But finish that point.
This is a political story. I mean, the trial bar, the tort bar. These are not like regular old lawyers. These are one of the biggest activist groups in the Democratic Party. They've been doing stuff like this in the securities area. They've been doing it in tobacco again.
But they're hitting up the states
and now
that have these
they found another potential
but Dagan, they are hitting up the states that have these great big deficits, courtesy escalating Medicaid costs, and saying we have found the solution. Right?
There is This is money for the pockets of the states because of the higher health care costs. And the health care costs are going up because of obesity-related diseases, of diabetes and heart disease and the like. However, it does get back to the individual. Do you have to pay higher health care premiums because you're obese, because you could be a risk? The answer is no.
But who doesn't know
this is not the problem.
No, this isn't bad for you.
I know, but the problem is people are not paying the price. They don't pay the price.
You're wrong about that, Adam?
A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't.
Who doesn't know that? Come on.
Let me make a point. You raise a very good point.
I want to address that, though, Adam. You do know, because if you eat in some of these restaurants and consume this amount of calories and that kind of food, you feel lousy. So how do you not know even if you aren't fat yet?
I love them.
Look,
I feel
Dagan,
great when I eat that stuff.
Look, I don't disagree that we should be advocating for personal responsibility. I don't disagree that these plaintiff lawyers are taking the wrong approach. But what I want to say is that I want you to acknowledge the government has had a positive impact on many of these debates. I mean, we've demonized smoking. That's a good thing. We've made cars safer. One of you raised that.
We haven't demonized marijuana smoking. Our president apparently loves marijuana. Cigarettes.
Safer.
We demonize smoking. We demonize tobacco smoking, but we're not demonizing marijuana usage. What do you think about marijuana usage?
Charlie, we have lowered the incidence of lung cancer
have we demonized marijuana?
By the way, that's a vicious cycle right there.
Right.
Because the more you have pot, the hungrier you are, the more you go
to McDonald's.
Compound the ill.
Does the president know this?
Stein, where do you think this is going? Let's say the fast food guys are afraid enough to cough up and do something, settle in one way, shape, or form, much as the tobacco industry did. And I'm wondering what would happen then?
What's going to happen then is an ever-growing erosion of human individual freedom and ever-growing erosion of individual responsibility, exactly as the two Charleses said. And there's something extremely insidious about this. Once you start saying government is responsible for everybody's welfare, then government is responsible for everything, and freedom of choice just disappears.
Very true. Very, very true. Adam, final point on that?
I didn't say the government's responsible for everyone's welfare. I said the government can play a helpful role in regulating some of these things.
I will add something, though, on the cigarette settlement. For example, there is no quantity of cigarettes that has a health benefit. They are not a necessity in your life. But that is not the case with food. That's why this is different.
Big Macs are good for you, though.
It's all about education. It's all about education.
They taste good. I didn't say they're good for you, Charlie. I said they taste good.
I agree with you. Listen, eat as many as you want. Kill yourself.
You guys know that it's 2,000 calories a day, not a meal.
What?
Yeah.